Hello and welcome to Reading with Mo. Today we're in a slightly different location than I usually am filming in front of my bookshelves, but I decided to switch it up today, get a different background going. So today my living room is where we are currently situated. I am going to be showing you guys some books that I'm going to be unhauling. I've kind of been saving up books for a while, so there's this local bookstore near me. It's called Beers Books, and they will buy back books from you and give you cash for them. And right now I currently have 2 boxes of books that I'm going to be taking there this afternoon. But I thought before I took them in, I would show you guys kind of what I am currently letting go from my shelves. Some of these books I've read, some of them I haven't. I have 1 box here with me. The other is in my car, which is kind of a bit of a ways away. So I'm not going to go into those too much because I don't feel like hauling that all the way up to my apartment. I'll show you, I'll insert a clip at some point of what books are in those what books are in that box, if you're curious to see the titles that are in there too. But I figured I have enough books to show you guys in this 1 box for a whole video for sure. So let's go into them. The first couple of ones are books that I didn't purchase myself. They were sent, well, the first one here was sent to me unsolicited, and that is Render Unto Caesar, The Struggle Over Christ and Culture in the New Testament by John Dominic Crossan. This is a book that I just have 0 interest in picking up or reading. This was sent to me unsolicited, so definitely just going to be getting rid of that one. Another book kind of unsolicited also as well, but basically Book Depository sent me the wrong book that I purchased and they just let me keep this one, but I have no interest in reading it either, and that is Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman. So I have 2 book series that I'm going to be unhauling, and the first one is one I haven't read. So I know this one is honestly a super big disappointment for me because I think I might have included the first one in this series on like a 5-star prediction list at some point, and that was Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I did what I tell myself not to do. Do not purchase a whole book series until you read the first one and decide if you want to keep going with it or not. So I really tried to get into this book. I don't know, either I'm not as into historical fiction as I once was, or maybe just the specific time period or author's writing styles, just whatever it was, I could not continue on with this book. There were so many people with the same names and told in a way that I was just very confused, and I just ended up not really caring for what was going on in the story, so I decided not to finish it. And so I still have the other 2 books in the series as well, which, I mean, these are some gigantic books. Like the last one, The Mirror and the Light, like this book is gigantic. It comes in almost 900 pages, so I'm just going to save myself the time of pushing myself through these books that I have no interest in reading. But I'm sure someone else will be very glad to come across this book series at the used bookstore, especially in this beautiful edition. Like, I love these books. I think they're so beautiful, which adds to the further disappointment of me being disappointed that I couldn't continue with the series. Next, we have another these are all disappointments, but a big disappointment is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is the Waterstones edition. It has these really pretty foil or sprayed edges, and this book is like every city has like a soul or something. I don't know. It just was I started reading it and I just had no interest in continuing. This is one that I just did not finish, so I'm going to be getting rid of it. I'm sure someone would be glad to find this special edition at the store as well for a used price. The next book series I am letting go of is one that I have completed, and that is the Queen of the Tearling series. I read this one last year. I think I ended up actually listening to most of these on audiobook, and I did enjoy my time reading the books. I felt like they were entertaining, but they weren't like super standouts for me as far as series go. They're not all-time favorites. I don't really have any interest in continuing on with the series, or not with the series, any interest in rereading this series. I think I heard there's going to be some sort of adaptation for these, but I could be wrong. I don't remember exactly what genre this falls in, if it's adult or young adult, but I remember I did enjoy my time with audiobooks. This is a fun like fantasy series, and while I don't want to read it again, I am glad that I did read it for the first time. So all of the rest of the books I think that I have to show you guys are books that I have read and books that I just don't feel like I want to keep on my shelves anymore for one reason or other. Except this one, I have only read like half of this book, so that is Luncheon of the Boating Party by Susan Vreeland. This one is a historical fiction book, and I really love the concept of these because they take like a historical fiction painting that's famous and kind of using like facts and other things to put more backstory into it. I really enjoyed the other one, Girl in Hyacinth Blue, that I read from Susan Vreeland a few years ago. But this one, I just found myself losing interest. I really wasn't enjoying my time with this book, so I didn't force myself to finish it. Then we have The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. This book I enjoyed and I thought it was good, but it just wasn't an all-time favorite. It's not something I'm going to be reaching for again in the future to read. I feel like one time was enough for me. In this book, we're following this fictional music duo, Opal and Nev, and it's set in like the 70s. So we get a lot of like the politics of the time and social issues, and I really enjoyed like some of the different perspectives. Like it's told in more of like almost like an interview type of style, which is something different I hadn't read from before. But yeah, I just don't need to keep it on my shelves anymore. Next, we have The Night Always Comes by Willie Vlautin. I purchased this book at Powell's in Portland, Oregon when I went last year. And it's a very short book. I kind of went in, I think, with wrong expectations. I thought this was kind of more of a thriller mystery type of book. This whole book actually takes place over the course of one night, and we're following this girl in her desperate attempt to raise a large amount of cash so that she can afford to buy the house that her parents, so she lives in with her mom and her brother who has a disability. And she basically has this one day to come up with cash or else they're gonna have to move from their family home. I think it's a very interesting concept. I do appreciate that the story was short, but some of it just felt really over the top for me. So yeah, I just don't really feel like this is one I'm gonna read again. Next, we have a poetry collection, and that is from My Darling from the Lions by Rachel Long. I was sent this one from the publisher Tin House. I think the cover on this is very beautiful, but I am just not someone who's super into poetry. These ones didn't really do anything for me, so hopefully someone else will enjoy these. Next, we have a book you may be surprised I am unhauling, and that is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. Because the only reason I'm getting rid of this one is because I have a new edition that came in a box set, if you watched my recent book haul video. And I love that edition much better, and I know when I reread it, I'm going to be rereading it from that edition, so I don't need to have two on my shelves, especially this one isn't in like the best condition, so I'm going to go ahead and let this one go. Next, we have a crime classic book, and that is Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braden. This book just wasn't very memorable to me. I have a hard time now even remembering what it was about. Like, I remember it had something to do with this woman who maybe isn't who she seems. I don't know. It just really wasn't very memorable for me, so I'm going to let this one go. Next, we have two books by the same author, part of the same series. So actually, I guess I do have three series that I'm unhauling, and that is by the author Attica Locke. We have Bluebird, and Heaven My Home. I think that these books were interesting. They are on the more like mystery side, literary mystery side, and we're following the perspective of the same I believe he's a sheriff, or no, Texas Ranger, Darren Matthews. We're following his perspective in both of these books, and they kind of are tied together, but each one is kind of focusing on a different mystery that he's trying to figure out. I enjoyed them, but with mystery thriller books in general, I typically won't hold on to them after I read them because the odds of me rereading them are very low. Once I already know the mysteries solved and everything, I don't really have an urge to go back to read it again. So same with these, and I didn't even really love them when I first read them. Like, I thought they were good, but they were not standouts to me. I forgot actually to have another DNF that was in this box, and that was The Crow Girl by Eric Axel Sund. This book I have attempted to read at least 3 or 4 times, and I think the last time I made the most progress. I want to say I got a couple hundred pages into this book, but I just still couldn't do it. And I think I even got the audiobook and I still couldn't do it. I don't know, maybe I'm just not really into, I believe this is like a Swedish dark noir thriller, and maybe I'm just not into that. I don't know. I know it was very dark though, like some very dark topics were brought up in this book. And I don't know, just the characters and everything, I just felt disconnected. Apparently it's actually like 3 books, and this is the bind up of all 3, which explains why it's so long as well and why it kind of feels like it kind of drags on a bit. I guess Eric Axel Sund is the pen name of the Swedish author duo, so there's actually 2 authors who wrote this book. I love the cover on this book. I think it is very like creepy and atmospheric and makes you really want to dive into the book and see what's going to be going on, but for me it just was a big miss. Then we have one more mystery thriller, and that is Slow Fire Burning by Paula Watkins. She also wrote The Girl on the Train, which I did read back in the day, and I really enjoyed that one. To be honest, this mystery thriller was very non-memorable for me as well, because I'm having a hard time even now remembering what this was about, which is a bummer because this is like a really nice Waterstone special edition, and it has some really cool black sprayed edges. Maybe Paula Hawkins was just a one-time author for me, because I think I read, I think, did she write Into the Water or some other book, and I remember not being like wildly impressed with that one either. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you now at this point what this book was about, and that's really sad because I really didn't read it that long ago. Then we have kind of a disappointment, which is Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. So it's not that I didn't like this book. I enjoy this book. I like Colson Whitehead's writing. Some of his books like The Underground Railroad and The Nickel Boys I really loved. This book just didn't really do much for me. I thought it was interesting, worth the read through once, but I just don't see myself going through this book, wanting to pick this book up again. I will still continue to read Colson Whitehead's books, but this one, while it's set in Harlem in the 60s, and it's kind of more of a heist type of book, and that's not really something I typically go for. Maybe if it's like in fantasy, then it kind of brings other interesting elements in, but just like a historical fiction heist book just really didn't do much for me. Now, the last 6 books that I'm going to be talking about are actually all sort of related, all by different authors. I picked these books up because I wanted to specifically read the shortlist for the Man Booker Prize for last year. And so I purchased all of them from Waterstones, and I was going to do a whole reading vlog and stuff, but that's like when I lost my booktube momentum, and I ended up reading them. I just didn't vlog and tell you guys about it. So I am disappointed that I didn't really find any new all-time favorites. I'm unhauling all 6 of the books that I bought and read. I don't regret doing it. I think it was an interesting thing. But I'm realizing maybe just the Man Booker Prize nominees aren't really for me at this point. I don't think I would do it again this year, or I'm highly unlikely to. Maybe I'll find a different prize to follow and read the books from, but yeah, this one just didn't do it for me. But I'll show you guys what the books were. So the first one we have is Bewilderment by Richard Powers. In this book, we're following a father who is a widowed scientist, and he's taking care of his 9-year-old son who in school they're suspecting he's having like some sort of like disabilities or something. And I don't know, it just, some parts I really enjoyed, some parts I didn't. There's these sections where he's making up these fake worlds and planets for his son, and I just found those parts to be kind of boring in my opinion. Then we have Passage North by Anouk Arud-Pragasam. I hope I said that right. This one actually started off very promising. I enjoyed the writing style, and I was interested to see where the story was going. And I think this one was good. This was probably one of my favorites out of the selection of the 6 that were nominated. Probably if I were to choose a winner, this one of the 6, this one might have been it. But still, I just found it unmemorable, which I feel like I'm using that word a lot in this video, but it's just kind of the truth. And then next we have the one that was actually the winner for the Man Booker Prize, which is The Promise by Damon Galgut. This one does tell an interesting story following a South African family and their promise to their help, which is this black woman that she will inherit the like hut or cabin or whatever it is that she lives in when the family member passes away, but everyone kind of just keeps disregarding it. I don't know, maybe I'm just not into these like super literary books. I don't know, this one, same, didn't do anything for me. The one that I hated the most with a passion is No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, because I honestly couldn't tell you what this book was about. I read about half of it, or almost all of it. It's super short, so I was like, oh, I can make myself get through it. But no, I couldn't tell you what this was about, what was going on, what the purpose was. I just didn't really like or understand this book, and I don't understand what other people see in this book, because I've seen this book in a lot of places, people love it, and I just really honestly don't get it. Then these other 2, the last 2 that I wanted to talk to you guys about from the Man Booker Prize, I could say the same thing for both of them. They were good books, I enjoyed my time reading them, but I just don't see myself really reaching out to pick them up again. So I'm just gonna get rid of them so they're not taking up space on my bookshelves, which is very limited right now, and we're already overflowing, so I have to be pretty strict about what I'm keeping on there. So we have Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. This was one of the ones that was more enjoyable for me when I was reading it, and we're following like dual timelines. One is of this woman in the 50s who she wants to fly an airplane. I don't remember if it was like around the world or something like that. And then the other perspective that we were following was 50 years later, this woman who is playing that pilot in a movie as a role. And I thought that that was pretty cool how they worked that out together. I feel like of the 6, yeah, this is one of the ones I would also recommend too. If it sounded like it was something that was interesting to you, because I think this book was one of the more interesting ones. And then we have, last but not least, The Fortune Men by Nadifa Mohammed. This one I was really excited about because it sounded very interesting from the premise, and I believe that this one was actually based off of like real events that happened. So this is also historical fiction, takes place in the 50s, and we're following this shopkeeper was killed, and we're following the man who they believe is the one who murdered him, and so we're following his him all the way up to the trial. And I just don't really remember too much about this book, so I can't really say too much, but I did remember that it was kind of interesting. So those are about half the books that I'm going to be getting rid of. I'll show you guys right now what the rest of the books are. So these are them. Pause if you want to see any of the titles more up close or whatever. And I'm going to be running these books over to the bookstore, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video is called Beers Books. So do you guys want to guess how much money I'm getting from these books? You can go ahead and leave a comment down below and then let me know if you guys were close or not. I'll go ahead and show you them once I actually see how much I'm going to be getting. While they're being processed and everything, I just took the time to browse through the store and kind of see what they had going on. So it is now actually a few days later, but I just wanted to pop in and wrap up this unhaul video by telling you guys actually how much I got for the books. So I actually ended up buying 4 books, which I'll show you guys a little bit of a mini haul right now. But I ended up getting, I think it was like 60 bucks back after purchasing these books. So altogether, not too bad, not too shabby. So I did end up picking up a couple of books. I actually just got this one, not from there actually. This just came in the mail. It's Miss Chloe. This is an uncorrected proof, not for sale, as it says. So this is in ARC. I received this from Amistad. I won this in a Instagram giveaway. This is A Literary Friendship with Toni Morrison by A.J. Verdell. So hopefully I can get to this book soon. I'm not even really sure if this one is like nonfiction or what, but anything with Toni Morrison I'll definitely be interested in. So the 3 that I picked up from Beers Books are these ones here. And one of them I have read before. I just wanted to own a physical copy of it because I do plan on rereading it eventually, and that is Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. I think I gave this one 5 stars when I had read it the first time. It is a very like gothic-y book, atmospheric book, takes place in the English country mansion in 1969. I remember really enjoying this book, and I think I read it maybe like from a ebook at my library or something, because I know I read it before but I don't actually own it. I picked up a graphic novel, and it's one that I had my eye on before. I hadn't seen it anywhere in person yet though, and that is Glass Town by Isabel Greenberg. It's the imaginary world of the Brontes. The illustration style looks very cute. It's full color. I believe this is supposed to be like a fictionalized telling of the Brontes as children. And then lastly, I came across this edition of McSweeney's, which is a literary journal. This one is number 50. I had read number 63. I think that was last month, and I happened to come across this one there, and I really like how it looks. Even under the desk jacket, it looks pretty cool. And so I'm really excited to maybe pick up a few more of these in used editions if I can happen to come across them at the used bookstore. So that is it for this unhaul video, and I guess now unexpectedly a little bit of a haul. I will see you guys soon in the next one. Bye!